Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again, and today we're going to count down the top 10 worst ways that Calypso screwed over his contestants. So let's get right into it. This video is actually pretty tough to get a list together for it because there's been so many times throughout the entire Twisted Metal series that Calypso really screwed over people with their wishes. But I try to narrow it down in a few different ways. The first way that I try to narrow it down is I tried to look at it in the sense of which wishes did Calypso intentionally screw over just to be maniacal and just to be evil, not necessarily just based on the contestant wording something incorrectly or wishing for something that could pretty much obviously screw them over anyway. I also had to take into the fact, of course, that Twisted Metal 4, Calypso is not the showrunner that time around and not granting wishes, so sadly, no Twisted Metal 4 wishes will be in this list, but I do have some honorable mentions that I will post at the end. So without further ado, let's get into number 10. And my 10th pick for the worst ways that Calypso has screwed over his contestants has got to go to Spectre, aka Bloody Mary in Twisted Metal Black. With her wish, basically she just wanted true love. Throughout the entire story of Twisted Metal Black, it kind of goes over her life in the sense of she could never find anybody that truly loved her. But let's be real, it was mainly because she was psychotic and she had these murderous tendencies. She even ended up killing her friend at her own wedding because she was just jealous that her friend found her true love and not her. So when she reached Calypso at the end of Twisted Metal Black, Calypso does technically grant her wish by giving her a guy that essentially is her quote-unquote true love. But we obviously see that he's just under a mind control device, or maybe he's a robot, but I'm not entirely sure here. But with that being said, I always found this really messed up that even though it seems like it's going to be a happily ever after story, the guy turns to her and says right to her that he will never love her.
I will never love you.
My God.
Thus making her murder him. And again, leaving her with a very bleak and sad ending overall. And in the game of Twisted Metal Black, ironically, most people get their wishes granted successfully and they have good endings. I mean, depending on how you look at a good ending. But for hers, it always just struck me as, wow, she really got the shit end of the stick, so to speak, and I always felt bad for her, even though she is obviously crazy. I know somebody did bring up the point that maybe it's because Calypso found out that her true love is just her murderous tendencies, which, yeah, you could look at it that way, and maybe that's the true meaning of the ending, but I'm going to look at it in the sense that she got her wish, but Calypso just wanted to screw over one last time just to laugh at her. Moving on to number 9, we have Mr. Grimm from Twisted Metal 3. And I know this one might be controversial because it's Twisted Metal 3. A lot of people on these lists don't like to see anything from TM3 or TM4, but I gotta be honest that this one always got me. Even as a kid, I thought it was hilarious, but at the same time, I just felt it was really mean-spirited, especially from Calypso. But in TM3, pretty much every single character gets screwed over by this guy. But this is the one time, at least for me in the game, where I felt his wish really didn't correlate much with what he got in the end. Yes, you could look at this as self-defense because essentially Mr. Grimm just wanted Calypso's soul. So this guy comes into his blimp and he says, I've won the contest and my wish is for your soul. Calypso decides to twist the words and just say, well, you want my soul of my foot instead? And he curb stomps him. So in the end, Grimm just dies for a stupid dad joke, essentially. Again, I think it's really funny. It's super stupid, but I do feel it fits in this list just because of the fact that Calypso just doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to give his soul away, which is understandable. So he decides to just completely turn his wish on his head and beat the shit out of Grimm, essentially. And moving on to number 8, we have, once again, Mr. Grimm from Twisted Metal 2012. This one was very interesting, and I honestly wasn't going to add any 2012 wishes on this list because I honestly really dislike every single story in this game. However, I was talking with some people in the Twisted Metal Federation earlier today, and they did change my mind, thankfully. So in 2012, Mr. Grimm's wish, essentially, is just to go back in time and to stop his father from doing this jump that he was a daredevil for that ended up taking his own life. And he wanted to make sure his dad would survive. So he gets sent back in time, but instead of sending him back in time to the event that was going to kill his father, he for some reason just shows up in the back of their car while they're driving home. So obviously the dad who's driving is going to freak out that some skeleton looking dude is now in their back seat, potentially going to kill his little son, and thus they get in a car accident and they all die, presumably. But yeah, I just always thought this one was very interesting, and it really is just a big FU from Calypso to Grimm. And on number 7, you're going to see a little bit of a theme here. We have Mr. Grimm once again, but this time from Twisted Metal Small Brawl. This one is a sleeper. Almost nobody remembers this one, and I really feel bad about it because this is one of my favorite endings in Small Brawl. And it's surprisingly one of the only endings where the contestant gets screwed over. And I think that's why it really sticks out to me and why I feel it deserves to be on this list. Because in most endings of Small Brawl, Calypso is the one getting his ass handed to him in a very funny and comedic way. And I always really like that about this game. It feels like a breath of fresh air when Calypso is usually the one, screwing everybody else over. But anyway, in this ending, Mr. Grimm essentially just wants to see this place called Halloween Land. It might be a take off the Disney Channel original movie. I have no idea where the joke came from, but essentially Halloween Land is a real place, and Calypso has the portal to it. So he opens the door, the kid goes inside, and immediately he is met with some really disgusting and terrifying creatures, masks. I'm not really sure what they are or what they're meant to be, but I'm assuming they are some type of real creature that end up eating him alive, essentially. And he does indeed die. David Goodrich has actually explained to me that it is proven that he does die in this ending. That's why I do feel Mr. Grimm really got shafted in this ending, and it was very unfair to him. So yeah, Mr. Grimm is coming in number 7. And at number 6, we have Spectre from Twisted Metal 2. Now, Spectre and Twisted Metal 2, just like Spectre and Twisted Metal 3, they both are kind of the same character where essentially they just want to be famous, they want to have their face shown to everybody in the world, and yada yada yada. But I felt that Twisted Metal 2's ending definitely went overboard with screwing him over more than the TM3 ending, and in the sense that Ken really just, again, wanted his face to be seen by everybody. So Calypso takes that literally and grabs his face and horrifically stretches it over the entire world. It's very disgusting. The sound effects they use are really horrifying, and you can tell this did not feel good.
Nice. Oh, I can see all of them now.
He was screaming in agony the entire time, which again just kind of leads to like, wow, Calypso really overdid himself here by screwing over Ken for no real reason, other than just to tell him to shut up. So yeah, Spectre and TM2 really got the short end of the stick this time. I felt terrible for him, even though it is kind of a comedically funny way to end the game and for his story to come to an end. So yeah, number 6 I think is a good spot for Spectre. Moving on to number 5, we have Thumper from Twisted Metal 3. Yes, TM3 has returned once again, and this is another one that I had to discuss with the guys in the TMF, and we all kind of came to the same conclusion that, yes, this is really a messed up way to twist his words around just for something that he wanted that was kind of wholesome. So with Twisted Metal 3's Thumper, his wish is that he wants to hang with his homies. Now, yeah, you could immediately tell this could have gone in a very different direction, and thank goodness they didn't go this far. But essentially, he does technically get hanged with his homies. It's really fucked up. And when his wish gets granted, we just see his floating head being hung next to Sweet Tooth's head and Augur's head, essentially as ornaments inside of his vehicle. And the really scary part about this is you would think he's dead. Like his head got chopped off and is now used as an accessory in a vehicle. Okay, that's messed up, but it sucks. It happened. However, Calypso makes a statement saying, "There's always next year's contest, driver," which is telling us that he is still alive and apparently able to come back next year to get his wish actually granted. So that's telling me that he got his head cut off somehow and he is just forever in purgatory of staying inside this motionless head that dangles under a car rearview mirror. That's just horrifying. That's just weird. So I feel bad for the guy. Well, he just wanted to hang out with his homies. It's just kind of messed up. So yeah, I really feel Calypso went out of his way to screw over Thumper in this one. So yeah, number 5 it is. At number 4, we have Outlaw from Twisted Metal 1, the original, that's right. And this is both a mixture of the original ending with the live action cutscene that got removed and, of course, the one in the final game, because they're relatively the exact same. There's not a whole lot of differences here. So Outlaw in Twisted Metal 1, his main wish is that he just wanted the Twisted Metal contest to be over. He wanted the world to be a safer place without it. But the way he worded it is that he wants to be in a world that is safe from Twisted Metal. So Calypso takes this literally, and he decides to send him into space. And the key word here, or phrase I should say, that makes this more horrifying is that yes, getting launched into space without any type of protection or anything like that, you're gonna die immediately, right? There's no air, it's cold, you'll freeze to death, whatever the case may be. But the fact is, he gets sent into space for all eternity. So Calypso somehow curses him to where he can survive in this vehicle, but he just can't die. And so he's just endlessly floating through space until, again, all eternity. And I think that is obviously one of the worst outcomes you could ever have, is just nothingness. There's just nothing going on and you're just stuck in your car floating through space endlessly. And yeah, and that's why I definitely feel like this is a fair placement for this character, because Calypso just utterly destroys him in any way, shape, or form. And I understand that Pizza Boy from Twisted Metal 4 should also be in this spot because he essentially gets the exact same ending, but the biggest difference is that Pizza Boy goes through a black hole, which would kill anybody instantly, so he got a much easier ending in my opinion compared to Outlaw and Twisted Metal 1. Coming out of the wire here in the top 3, and coming in at number 3, we have Roadkill, aka John Doe from Twisted Metal Black. John Doe is a very interesting character in Twisted Metal Black. He's one of my favorite stories in the entire game. I love the fact that he has amnesia and he doesn't even know who he's supposed to be, where he came from, or what he's doing here. And we're trying to figure out this mystery alongside him. At the end of the game, Calypso tells him what he truly is. He is an FBI agent that was working undercover with this horrible terrorist group, and he was supposed to take them down from the inside, if you will. But after he figures out that he's an undercover cop, Calypso also reveals to him that he has a family at home, he has kids, he has a wife, all the good stuff. And he's ready to go back to that life again. He's remembering everything again. But right before he remembers everything, Calypso takes out a gun and decides to shoot him down dead. And it's just really devastating. It actually has some nice elements to it, a nice twist to it, and it is a very devastating and sad ending to John Doe. But this again is just another situation where technically Calypso was being a nice guy by giving him his wish at the end of the game, but just for no real reason decides to just take him out immediately. I guess you could make the argument that yes, Calypso's on the FBI's most wanted list and he doesn't want to get taken down by John Doe. I get that. But I mean, he could have just like put him to sleep or something and sent him home without John Doe knowing where he was. Yeah, there's a lot of ways he could have went around this, but instead he said, nah, I'm just gonna take out a gun and kill this guy right as he remembered his past. So number 3, I think, is definitely a fair placement for our boy John Doe. Moving on, number 2, we have Yellow Jacket for Twisted Metal Black. This is a very interesting one that I actually wasn't even going to add on this list because I genuinely kind of forgot about it. Until, again, some people in the Twisted Metal Federation told me about it and they reminded me that how devastating this ending truly is. And it actually is the saddest ending in Twisted Metal Black, which is really saying something because there's a lot of sad endings. The story of Yellow Jacket and Twisted Metal Black is that the son of Charlie Kane decides to create this device that controls Charlie Kane's body after he has been shot in the head. So he's dead, he is a complete corpse, but his son keeps him alive and thus wants to join the contest to wish his dad back alive. And he gets to the ending of the game after defeating everybody in the contest, and instead of granting him his wish, Calypso just decides to destroy the machine, keeping his father quote-unquote alive, and kidnapping him. And it just is really messed up. Calypso just tells him everything's going to be better and everything's going to be fine and you'll be okay. And that's all we really get. And I think this was going to lead into more of a story for Twisted Metal Black 2 or Harbor City. It's hard to say what they were going to do with this storyline, but it is really devastating. It's really messed up. And this is probably the biggest, like, holy shit, Calypso's a horrible person moment we've ever seen in a Twisted Metal. So yeah, not only does he not get his wish granted at all, but instead of getting screwed over, Calypso just decided to say, screw your dad, I'm gonna take you and kidnap you and you're my child now. So yeah, pretty messed up. And coming down to the number 1 spot where Calypso screwed over his contestant, in my opinion the worst in all the entire series, has got to go to Spectre in Twisted Metal 1. And now this is from the original ending, the live action ending. I'm not going to consider the one that was in the game in the final version. But no, the one in the actual unreleased lost ending. The main reason this is at number 1, and this is really tough because number 1 and number 2 to me can both be pretty much the top spot. They're so close for Calypso of just being at his most sadistic. But I do feel this one is mostly just like, haha, F you for literally no reason. Spectre's wish in Twist Metal 1 was to be alive again because he's a ghost. The entire time he is a ghost. He has the ghost missile special weapon, so it kind of makes sense. And when he gets to the ending, Calypso gives him a drink that allows him to come back to life. He drinks it, he comes back to life, he feels alive again, and then while he's celebrating his new life, Calypso just decides to take out a gun, laugh at him, and then shoot him in the heart and kill him again. For literally no reason other just to be sadistic and say F you.
Calypso, no, please don't.
No!
And that is why I feel this one does deserve to be in the number 1 spot. That, or of course, the yellow jacket from Twist Metal Black. Either one can be number 1 because Calypso screws over the contestant by far the most in any other games in both of these endings. Before we go, I have a couple honorable mentions though I want to get out of the way, in that these are the contestants that I felt were pretty much screwed over by Calypso, but they just didn't quite meet the criteria for this list. The first one is Goggle Eyes. Mainly he wasn't on this list because it was Sweet Tooth, technically Marvin, that granted the wish, and not necessarily Calypso. But this one is the guy just wanted every bug in the world to be squashed or killed, or whatever the case may be, and instead of getting his wish granted, they decided just to put all of the bugs inside of him. And it was just absolutely disgusting, and what a way to go. Horrifying, if you will. The next one is Orbital, again from Twist Metal 4, same exact reasons Goggle Eyes was on the list. And this one was more of just a kind of like, he messed up the wording of his wish, but he ended up getting a very, very bad ending. And I just feel bad for the guy. So Orbital was a good guy, essentially, that had half of his face destroyed in some accident and then rebuilt, like a cyborg. And so his wish is that he wanted his face to be normal again, because he's just tired of being looked at like a freak. He ended up wording it in a way that said something like, he wished everybody in the world felt the same way that he does when he goes out in public. And so Sweet Tooth takes his words and turns it on its head and essentially makes everybody look like the two-faced freak that he is. And again, thus kind of making it a very sad and depressing ending. And the last one on my honorable mention is going to go to Firestarter from Twisted Metal 3. Now this one, just like Mr. Grimm and TM3, is more of just they have a wish that does not necessarily get granted the way that they're asking for it. They don't even word it incorrectly or anything, it's just Calypso's just being an asshole. So Firestarter asked for a barbecue to experience it with all his friends. He just loves barbecuing. And so Calypso just decides to shrink him down to the size of a kebab, and he roasts him over a barbecue, literally burning him alive. Very messed up. Horrible way to go. Burning alive would never be fun. And that is my top 10 worst ways that Calypso has screwed over the contestants throughout the entire Twisted Metal series. Let me know your top 10 worst ways that he has screwed over the contestants in the comment section below. I love hearing your guys' opinions on this because, of course, my opinion is just my opinion. This in no way is meant to be factual or everybody else is wrong and I am right. I love hearing your community discussions in the comments. Let me know what you think. With that, make sure to leave a like to show your support as always. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll hope we see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.